Hello and welcome to the webinar. My name is Grace Portillo and I'm Customer Success Manager here at Mural. I'm joined today by my colleague Matt, who will help with the demo and with the questions. So
Hi, great.
please, hi Matt, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. Hi, everyone. So if you have questions, I'll be answering them during the webinar. You can type them in the Q&A pane at the bottom of your window, and we'll get to them live. And if we don't get to those, we'll answer them via the chat.
Awesome, thanks Matt. All right, let's get started with a demo. You can access Mural right through your browser. When you access, you need to log in and then you can start a new Mural. I'm going to start, as you can see here, I'm going to go to another place of my Mural and start with our subject for today, which is going to be how can we make remote teams feel closer together. I just dragged out a text element, which is the first option on our left-hand toolbar, a title. You can drag it out and you can make it the text bigger, and all the formatting options are displayed on the top of your text. So you can have paragraphs, you have text box, and comments as well in your text options. You can notice there's different sizes of sticky notes as well, and different colors. So in order to start brainstorming, you can either drag a sticky note from the toolbar, or even a quicker way is to double tap your screen and start adding ideas. So let's see, Matt, how can we make remote teams feel closer together? I think we can have virtual happy hours. We can take an online course together, probably. We can work from a cafe. I guess coffee shop. That would work too. Awesome. So here is the first part of our toolbar is the text box. And we're going to go to the shapes and connectors. Here we have some arrows and squares, and they can be really helpful to connect ideas. For example, virtual happy hours can be connected to share a new food / drinks activity. And once you put the connector on top of it, both stickies, you can see that both ideas are connected, which can be very helpful to not lose them. Another helpful feature is our icons feature. Here you can, let's see, I want to pin this. I want to put a little pin on top of this. I can resize my icon. I can change color of it. And this is helpful for us to emphasize on certain content. So check out through the icons that we have available. The next feature is frameworks. Frameworks is, as you can see, there's different tabs here. There's a layout, design, agile, business, and we even have calendars. So make sure to check out all the different tabs that we have through frameworks. A framework is like a picture that we have, and you can add content on top of it. At the moment, there's no way of editing what we already have in the framework, but I'm gonna start with our bullseye, and usually how this works is you put an idea in the middle. So let's say our idea will be, how can we make remote teams feel closer together? And to emphasize that, to represent that more so, I will put the light bulb. And then we can prioritize these as more important, closer to the light bulb, and less important, farther away. So we can do that activity. You can set up activities for that with your colleagues to measure the importance of your ideas. As you can see, Mural is totally flexible and you can place things however you want. You have control. You can format every element as well. And here, our last feature in the left-hand toolbar is an integrated image search. So let's say I want a conference call image, and you can get here a couple ideas. Let me see, I like this one. So you can drag out from the internal search feature, or I can as well drag out from my desktop. I can drag and drop images, and then you can resize them and make them fit. I can also include PDFs that I have saved in my desktop. I can just drag and drop them same way. So you can see that it's a platform to share different multimedia content. I can also go, I have this design meetings with Method Kit video on YouTube. If I would want to incorporate this in my mural, the only thing I would need to do is go to the URL and copy it, usually with the keyboard shortcuts, Control and C or Command and C if you're using Mac. Then go back to your mural and you can press Control V or Command V if Mac, and you can paste. So it's an easy way to share content that you found in different places. I have this blog post as well, Know Your Scales in Mural, that is actually, Matt, if we can share it on the chat for everyone, that would be awesome. It's a really, really cool blog post that teaches you on scaling in Mural, which, by the way, I'm going to mention that a mural is a big canvas, as you can see here on my screen at the lower mini screen on the lower right. I'm just using a little piece of my whole canvas. So it's designed to have different activities in one space. So the idea is the content, this is when I'm zooming out, the content is tiny, make the headers visible from far away, and then in order to read your content, the idea of Mural is you can zoom in, and this is the way you can make better space of your mural, better use of your mural as well. To navigate, you can have your navigation settings. If you go to your avatar here on the lower left-hand corner, and you can go to your account settings and go through navigation. Depending on if you use a mouse or a trackpad, here you can select an option for how you would like to scroll. We recommend swipe with 2 fingers, but there's also an option if you hold the space bar, you can drag easily. And then our recommended option for pinch, a recommended option for zoom is pinch with your trackpad, but you can also here select hold Alt and use your mouse's scroll wheel. But I will just leave it as pinch since I'm using the trackpad. And go back to my mural. In a second here, Matt will come in and show us the collaboration features, which enable better teamwork with remote teams. Matt, do you want to join in?
Thanks, Grace. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the screen.
Thanks,
All
Matt.
right. So you see we've already created a bunch of content. Thanks, Grace, for showing us that. So we're off to a good start here, but I want to invite other colleagues to get in on this and share their ideas and hear what they have to say as well. So how can I do that? In the top right corner of the screen, you'll see there's a pink share button. So you go to this button, you have a few different options. So if I want to invite some other colleagues, I can go ahead and copy this edit link and send it to them directly via a messaging device or email, or I could type in their email. So for example, if I wanted to invite Grace, she's already part of the mural, but hypothetically I could type in her email here and send out those invitations, and they'll get that email to their inbox with a link to join. So once they join, they can add their content, their ideas, and share what they think about ours as well. And you can see at the bottom, you can see who's inside the mural right now. You can also see that here in the top right corner. If you click on members, you can see who's online, who's offline, and who's also never accessed the mural. So if you invite someone, they would show up as never accessed. So you can share that. Another way to share would be the view link. So if I want to share this with someone who's not going to be collaborating, but I want them to just see our ideas, I can create a view link here and send them that link. That will allow them to see the mural. They'll see the changes in real time, but they won't be able to edit the content. So that way they'll be able to keep up with our session and see what ideas we came up with, but they won't be adding their own ideas to the mural. So that's one way to share. Now that we have everyone inside, let's say I want to share my ideas, I can explain them. I can ask everyone to follow me. So I click on my avatar at the bottom. There's an option here to follow me. So other people will get a request that said Matt has asked you to follow them, and you can see I get this colored box around the canvas that says Grace is following me. So I know that she's seeing exactly what I'm seeing right now, and I'm controlling her screen. So if I want to say, hey, I want to talk about this idea about volunteering, I can talk through the ideas that I came up with or ask questions about theirs, and I know we're all looking at the same screen if they're following me. The same can be done if I want to follow someone else. So for example, I could follow Grace. She gets out of that. To get out of follow mode, you just need to zoom in and out. And you see I get a little request from Grace. So I'm going to follow her. I could do the same by clicking on her avatar. And now I'm not moving my cursor at all. So I know she's controlling the screen. She's showing me what she wants everyone to see. And maybe she would talk through her thoughts on different ideas and what we added. So this is a great way to make sure that everyone's looking at the same thing. You don't have people in different spots of the mural. And that way you're all on the same page during the session. So that's a great way to do that. And to get out, I can just zoom in or out, and I'm out of follow mode, and I'm back in control of what I'm seeing. Another great way to kind of share feedback is to add comments to different elements. So let's say I come back in later on. There aren't other people online, and we're not talking via voice app. I want to share what I think of a few different ideas. I can go ahead and right-click on any element and add a comment. So if I add a comment here, I could say, how do we get started with this? And I could even tag someone in here. So I could say, right, I can tag Grace, and then I can save. So she'll be tagged, she'll get a notification with that. And she can come in and leave her own comments and respond to that there. So that's another great way. She'll receive a notification. And that's another great way to leave feedback, especially if you're not in the same session at the same time, to leave your feedback for other people to get back to you and continue the collaboration. Another way to share feedback in real time is the chat window. So if you go to the right corner next to the share button, see the chat window. So you can see here you can chat with anyone who's inside the mural. Say, I don't know, Happy Thanksgiving, right, to those in the US. And you can share any ideas here as well. And that chat is in real time. You could also, if you want to leave a chat for someone who comes in later, you can leave messages there too. So it's another great way to communicate within the mural. Also, another great way, let's say we've already created all of our ideas. I want to know what everyone thinks are the best ideas. You can have a voting session. So if you want to vote, you can do that here in the top of the screen, in this square. So I can start a voting session. Anyone who's a member inside this mural can start a voting session. So I'm going to start a new voting session. I can choose how many votes each person will get. So I think in this case, 3 will be enough. Right, and I click start. So each person now who's in the mural will get this message. They'll know that the voting session is started, and you can start voting. You'll see your number of votes here in the top left corner, and every time that you vote, you'll see that number will go down, right? So you can vote on any element, and you'll see, so I like the idea of happy hours. I think volunteering and flowers. I think those are great ideas. So I'm going to give some people time to finish voting. Anyone who's inside the mural can also finish the voting session by clicking the same button up at the top. So it doesn't have to be, if I start the session and I leave and I come back later, I can ask someone else to finish the voting whenever they're done. That's fine. So I'm going to give the girls a few more minutes to vote. So you can check out different ideas. I see here my votes. If I change my mind and want to take back a vote, I can do that by clicking on it, holding shift and clicking on that element. And you see my vote disappeared. I have one more vote. So that's a great way to, if you change your mind, you see something else you like better, you can always change it as long as the session is still ongoing. Okay, so now let's end the session and the voting session here. So now you see, you'll get this overlay that will show you the results of the voting session. So it looks like virtual happy hours got the most votes. Good choice. And then we had some other elements that got a few different votes as well. So you have a few different options with this. Everyone will get this overlay. They'll be able to see who had the most votes. And the great thing is it's anonymous, so you don't know what each person voted for. So that's kind of the idea. You could see as a team what the most popular ideas were. A lot of times after this, you can choose how you want to continue. In a lot of cases, we'll create another section that will be like voting results section, where you can put the most common, the most popular ideas in that section and continue brainstorming off of that, and see how you can start to create actions around these ideas. So that's another option to do that. If you wanted to, you could take one of these stickies, for example, and if you hit Control D, that duplicates it, and you can go ahead and move it into a new section. So that's it for now for collaboration features. If there's anything that unclear, anything you have a question about or you'd like to see again, go ahead and write it in the Q&A panel, and we can always show it again later on in the session, and we'll also get to some of your questions. So I'm going to give it back over to Grace.
Thank you, Matt. I'm going to start sharing my screen, and we can go into some questions. Do we have any questions, Matt?
Sure. How can I save my mural?
Great question. Mural, everything that you're inputting inside the mural is being saved real time. If you want to export the content of your mural, let it be the mural altogether, you can click right on the drop-down menu right by the mural's name, and you can see here that there's an export option, and you can also share your mural how Matt previously described it. You can go through the pink share button, and there's 3 tabs. You can share the edit link or invite the names by inputting the different emails here, and you can also invite them only to view, which wouldn't enable collaboration. And there's also an embed option where you can embed your mural. Now that I'm starting with the sharing, I will also talk a little bit about exporting. So as you can see here, you can export your mural, and you have 2 different options. You have an export your mural as an image, and also you can export it as a PDF. This would be ideal to share the mural outside of the platform. Matt, does that answer the question?
Yes, great. Thank you, Grace. So we have
Awesome.
another question, actually. There's a question about the framework. So you mentioned there were frameworks. Someone's asking about templates. They saw on the main page there's templates. What's the difference?
A framework is a predetermined image which you can use from the section you can drag it out into your mural and use the layouts that you already have. A template is a bit more custom made. Let me go back to, let's say I want to use this process that I have here and save it as a template. I can go here and you see there's an option to say publish as template. I can click on that, and I'm going to make this mural a template to share with my team so they can then use this as the layout to start their activity. So I would call it weekly demo template, and I will go ahead and publish the mural as a template. Okay, then I can go here, take me to the template. Templates has their own separate section, and can be found right below the all murals section. I will show you in a bit. But right now we are in the template, and you notice that it says that you can't edit templates. You can only use them to create new murals. So if you want to, you can just access this template and then share it with your team, or you can create a new mural based from this template that I just made here on our different. So we can create a mural from template, and that's the way you can start using the same layout throughout your whole team. But now I'm just going to go back to our demo one. Did that answer the question between difference between frameworks and templates?
That did it. Thank you.
Awesome. Is there any other question?
Yeah, there's a question about the links. So someone's asking if when you export the mural, do the links stay the same? Does that change anything about the actual mural?
I apologize. Can you please repeat that?
Yeah, Sylvain is asking if you export the mural, does that change anything with the links of the mural? So I think he's referring to the share links. So that doesn't change when you export the mural, correct?
No, that doesn't change. You can actually go into the share button here, and you see that there's delete link to revoke access. The link will always be the same, but if you, let's say you shared it with a group of people and then you're afraid that too many people have the link, and you can revoke access, and then that link won't work anymore, and you would need to generate another link. But the links won't change when you export. Do we have any other question, or should we continue with the demo and then get back to some more in the end?
That's it for now.
Awesome. All right, now I would like to talk a little bit more about formatting. As we can see here, there's a couple ideas. If we want to group some ideas together, I can click Shift and drag on top of all of my ideas, and then I can right click, and you see here that you have an option to group your ideas or to organize your ideas into an area. What is the difference of this? Let's say grouping would just group the ideas and they would be moved as one, but organizing into an area will actually have this little box, and you already have a header. So let's say here I'm going to name this brainstorming. And notice you have different formatting options. I can have a dashed border, and you can change the width, the border color. So you can play around with your content and make it more visually appealing for your coworkers as well. So you can also change the background color. And notice here there's some other options that can become helpful once formatting your content. So this is a good way to give it a little bit more color to your boards. But I will go back to what Matt was talking about here on the upper right-hand corner. Near the chat feature, you see this activity. What does this mean? We can click on it, and we can see the past activity that's been happening in our mural. This is extremely helpful when you're not connected at the same time as your collaborator, and you can go in and check what happened. You can see here Matt deleted a sticky note. He ended a voting session, so you can see, a voting session happened without me. What were the results? This is what Matt mentioned, something super important. It's about copying the voting results and making a section specifically for them. What happens is that every new voting session overwrites the previous one. So your voting results aren't saved. So you should make sure to copy them and paste them in a different section with the heading voting results. So this is a good way to keep track of the activity that's been happening in your mural. And also you can go to a specific sticky. Let's say I want to see who shared this idea. I think it's interesting. You can go in and right click and you can see the info. Well, now you can volunteer as a team. You can right click and you can show info, which is the first option, and you can see that it was added. I apologize, I closed that up. You can see that it was added 23 minutes ago by Matt. So this is super helpful if you want to see who's commenting and sharing ideas. The moment now we're gonna go back to Matt and we're gonna talk a little bit about use cases. So Jim Kalbach will be explaining a bit more about use cases and ways we can use Mural. So let me give you the screen back to you, Matt, and we can start playing that video so we can have Jim teach us that.
All right, thanks, Grace. So yeah, we're going to show a quick video from Jim Kovac. He's the head of customer success here at Mural. So he'll be talking about some different use cases, and I'll share that video with you right now.
I wanted to start off by showing you what Mural is and how you add content, but now I want to look at some examples to maybe inspire you or give you some ideas how you might be able to use it in your own work. Let me zoom out on this mural, and you can see here we did a brainstorming session on that same topic. So this might be kind of the conclusion. If the group of us here today were to keep going, we might end up with a mural that looks something like this. You see the team up here in the upper left-hand corner. On the left, we did a brainstorming session, and this is labeled as such here in this large header. But if I zoom in, I can see some of those brainstorming ideas here. So this is kind of unstructured. Everybody's just getting their ideas out. And then we use those areas that I just showed you. I showed you that area feature here to cluster the ideas. So there were some themes that started to emerging. And if you know about affinity clustering, you can use these areas and affinity clustering to find patterns. So games and playing fun things was a pattern that emerged over here. And then we did a vote, and here are the voting results. We copied those sticky notes that got the most votes. And we can have another discussion about them down here. And if I move further down, we even put things on a small timeline. Over here on the left, I included some links. So this is kind of my reference section or further links section as well, too. There's even a PDF document in here as well, too. So if I zoom out, I can see there are 4 areas, distinct areas to this mural. Over here, the brainstorming that we did, then we moved to affinity clustering, then we voted and prioritized. That's really, I think, the best way to think about Mural. It's not about doing one activity, but actually using the large virtual space that we give you to actually chain activities together, or tie separate steps together. If you're doing design thinking, for instance, you can do personas and empathy maps and journey maps and have that all in one place. And of course, once everything is digital, it's shareable, it's archivable, it's traceable. You can go back and see who said what, when, and you have a record of your session, and it's a visual record. But because it's digital, you can loop in other teammates who may not be on location or at the same site with you, and you're working with a distributed team. So a brainstorming session, I think, is something we see a lot of customers doing, a lot of people doing brainstorming sessions in Mural. But you might also do things like design thinking activities. In this case, this is an experience mapping activity. Again, you'll see here we used the entire mural to do 4 different activities. We looked at a stakeholder map here in the upper left, then we did some personas, then we did some empathy maps. But here in the center, we have journey maps. In this case, we were looking at going to the supermarket by bicycle. And what would Jake's experience be here? So Jake is our persona, and we can look at the steps and the feelings and the pain points at each stage in his experience of going to the supermarket by bicycle. Notice here we also included the images, so we have this kind of rich, high-fidelity description of his journey from our research as well, too. And then we can even move into brainstorming right down below, based on the opportunities and pain points, what ideas can we come up with? So again, zoomed out, I can't see all of that detail, but I can see that there are 4 areas here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I can then zoom in to see the detail. If I wanted to see this empathy map, I can zoom in. So again, you'll be moving around, panning and zooming quite a bit in Mural at different levels of fidelity. At this level, I get the overview. If I zoom in a little bit more, I see the section. If I zoom in more, then I can see and work with the content. So we can tend to think about things in kind of 3 or 4 different levels of scale that you can work at. Let me show you another example. This is related but slightly different than experience mapping. This is something called user story mapping. And in this case, we started with personas down here at the bottom. So we kind of started at the bottom and worked our way up the mural. We were looking at an agile team, was looking at an app for a teacher and instructor to manage homework broadly. And we had these two persona. This is the teacher, the instructor, and Emma is the student. But then what we did here at the top of the mural is we looked at the journey or the interaction that the instructor would have with the application. They have to log in and search and browse and view the list and all the set steps and sub-activities that he has to do. But what we were ultimately trying to do was sort our user stories. So if you know agile development for software, that breaks things down into individual stories, which is a great way to manage a project because you can see progress and you can manage the development effort a lot better. But you also lose the big picture. So what user story mapping does is it tries to give you the big picture and look at stories, the functionality that you're developing in terms of the user journey, which is here at the top. And from this, you can then derive epics and have conversations around releases and things like that as well, too. So user story mapping, great to do with a remote team. We have a little case study on our blog where we did that with one of our customers, a team that was distributed between Europe and the US, and we were able to effectively collaborate visually in a user story mapping exercise. One more quick example, we've also worked with things like Lean, and in this case, Lean UX. We partnered with Jeff Godhealth to do some Lean UX activities. We were looking at coming up with hypotheses in this particular example, and we did this exercise with a completely remote team. So the team was literally scattered around the world. And we were still able to move from, what are the business outcomes, the metrics that we want to change, to the persona, to the user outcomes, and then to the features. So we actually worked back from the outcomes to the features. And then we wanted to come up with experiments. The first part of coming up with experiments in Lean is to come up with a hypothesis statement to be able to then validate your assumptions. So we created these hypothesis statements. And again, we did this collectively as a team on a conference call, but used Mural as the platform, as the background, as the whiteboard to do all of the visual collaboration. So there are lots of different ideas and use cases that you can imagine to use Mural for. We typically see people doing things like design thinking, innovation, creative work, design work as well too. You can think about putting mock-ups here in Mural. We've very often seen people put screenshots of an existing application or of a new application, line them up in Mural so that you can see them all back to back. Effectively, anything that you might do on a flip chart or a whiteboard in the office, you can think about doing in Mural and more, because you can add video and links and images as well. You can think about extending the whiteboard not only into your browser but into the digital space.
All right, so that was the video. So thanks to Jim for creating that video. So those are some common use cases, some things that, different ways of using Mural that could help your team collaborate and come up with different ways, creative ways to solve problems and improve your customer experience. So if you have any questions about any of those cases or anything you've seen so far, go ahead and write them in the Q&A and we'll get to them now. Back to you, Grace.
Thank you, Matt. Before we go into answering more questions, I would like to show how we can copy content from a spreadsheet. So this is pretty great. Let's say I have this same idea being discussed in another platform, let's say Excel from this case. I can go ahead and copy, always using keyboard shortcuts. You can copy and you can, using Command or Control C, and then once you go back to your Mural, let me zoom out a little bit here, you can hit Control V, and then you see that all the cells have now become stickies. So this is pretty cool if you already have this idea being worked on in a different platform. You can just copy content from a Word doc or an Excel doc into your mural, and vice versa. I can say I like this visual outline, but I would like it also in a spreadsheet. I can go ahead and do the same thing. Copy the stickies and paste them in your spreadsheet, and they will each sticky will become a cell. So this is a pretty cool thing I wanted to show you. Now that I mentioned keyboard shortcuts, every time you come to your mural to make your work faster, you can use keyboard shortcuts we can access the menu by hitting on your question mark, and you will be displayed with this menu here of all the keyboard shortcuts, and then you can see it's divided by sections: general, navigation, trackpad mode, presentation, and other. So this is pretty helpful to make things faster and share your ideas more efficiently as well. But for now, we're going to go to answer a bit more questions. I want to go back to you, Matt, and ask you if we have any questions coming in.
Yep, there's a question about outline. The user's asking how to use it. What does it mean, the outline section in the top right?
Awesome. In order to use the outline section, which is kind of a presentation, which I can see already here that's already been set up, you can share your content in areas. You need to create an area and enclose the content in order for that area to be part of your outline. So let's say here, I can see that the first area that was added was a bullseye, which is this framework that it's in the bottom left hand. Then the second area is the one that I included when I grouped my ideas, organized my ideas into an area. And this way I can click on the outline and go directly to the area that is being spoke of in the outline, which is pretty good. If you want to just present a mural, you can enclose your content in outlines, number them, and this is the way you can present your ideas in a more fluid way. Thank you, Matt. Does that answer the question of outline?
That's it. Great. Thank you. And also just to piggyback on that, at the bottom there, you could show Grace that you can click on the presentation mode, like you mentioned. So a lot of people ask us, well, how do I present this content? And the easiest way is just to do that. You can group your content into areas and go into presentation mode, and that will take you can order them as well, however you like, and you can go from area to area within the mural. So that's a great way if you want to present, the work that you did with your team to other colleagues. That's a great way to do it, just from right within the mural rather than having to export it. I actually have another question for you. Could you talk a little bit about how to manage what different mural members can do, if they can share the mural, create, and how that works within the workspace?
Great question. Actually, that's the direction I was going after. So this is the members. You can see this little icon with members. You can click that, and it's pretty cool because you can see which members are online and which members are offline. And you can also see here which members are pending. So if you send an invitation and let's say they haven't accepted it, you would see that here as well, like the name and a pending invitation. So here, Matt just mentioned how we can manage the mural members. So we can click on this and we'll go back to the settings and the members. And you can see here that you have different options, different permissions that you can mark off or not. So you can say, I just want Amelia to have view only access. And you can obviously take that back and change these settings whenever you want just by accessing there. So you can choose who can only view the mural, which wouldn't have any editing privileges, just zoom in, zoom out, and pan. You can choose who can export your mural, who can duplicate your mural, and who can invite people to this mural. So that if you don't want this mural being shared with just anyone that can do so by copying the link and sharing, you can remove the check from this option. And you can also see here a remove member option. But now that Matt got in the Mural member settings, there's also, I'll go back to here to the dashboard, and I'll show you a bit more general. So you can see that the workspace is here, and you can have different workspaces. As you can see, I have different workspaces here, and you can also go into your workspace members. So you can see who has access to not only one mural, but your whole workspace. So as you can see, there's a bunch more members than I was showing you in the mural. Here you can also see that there's different permissions. That is, you can create rooms, which are like subfolders from your workspace, if they can publish templates, if they can see a workspace rooms, if they're admins. So this is very, very good to keep in mind if you want to be aware of the permissions you're giving to your collaborators, especially if you're the workspace creator. And you can also go for rooms, like you can have a demo room, and you can also see the members that you have per room by going to your right-hand upper corner. Matt, I'll go back to you. Do you have any other question?
That's all the questions for now. But as we mentioned, you can go ahead and reach out to us at any time, and we'll be happy to help you out. If you have anything that you saw here or any questions about things you like to do with your team and collaborating, feel free to reach out to us. In that question mark menu, Grace is going to show you. You can always reach out to us via chat there, contact customer service, or via email, support@mural.co. So we're happy to help if you guys have any questions.
And with this, we'll end up the webinar. Thank you so much, Matt, for helping me with the demo, and everyone for hearing out. Hope to see you soon in Mural. Bye-bye.